Neelam Mehta, welcome to the ROHFIT LifePod. How are you doing today?
I've been doing great, and thank you so much for having me here.
It's a pleasure. I think it's lovely been connecting with you for the past few weeks and also understanding, where you come from, like how you've gotten yourself here to the journey of being a life coach. So before further ado, I would want to give you the floor just to kind of introduce yourselves and give the audience an insight on what's your area of expertise.
So, hi, I'm a life coach, and I love working with people who want to unlock their full potential and create a better life for them. If I have to explain this with an example, so whenever the word term coach comes in, we joined it to cricketers. Like cricketers need coach. But practically everybody needs a coach in life. So cricketers know how to play cricket, but yet they need a coach because a coach focuses on their strength, whether their in swing is better or out swing is better, any of those, and makes them work on their weaknesses. So gets their focus back on what's working for them while improving their weaknesses. Similarly in life, we have our own strengths and weaknesses. So how do we work on that? As we go through life, we keep on focusing on what we couldn't do, what we couldn't achieve. But a life coach will get your focus on what's working for you, how you can improve that to attain your goals better.
Right.
So, life coaching is basically more action oriented. It is for people who are hungry for change, who wants to work on themselves, and who have the courage to look within, not in that victim mindset. They want to be the hero of their story.
Right. I think it's lovely the way you explain because before getting into the proper body and meat of the podcast, I actually wanted to call attention to that fact only that a lot of people, in terms of finding guidance, they find guidance in very specific areas of their life. I need to get my physical aspect sorted. I need to get my mental aspect sorted, emotional aspect sorted. But I feel like a job like somebody like yours is very diverse in that sense. And that's my first question. If you were to differ yourself as a life coach to say a counselor or a mental health professional, what is the distinguishing factor that breaks it down?
So I get this lot of times like, are you a counselor or are you a therapist? So I have to explain them that a life coach works on your present and takes you to your future.
Right.
Whereas a counselor works on your past traumas which are holding you back and not living your present properly. So it takes you from your -10 to your 0. And whereas life coaching takes you from 0 to 10. That is how it works. And life coach is more like a partner in your journey, a guide in your journey. Whereas this is more like a client and a therapist, patient and a therapist journey.
Right.
And this works more on, counseling works more on pain removal. Your pain, what is stopping you, healing you. Whereas life coaching works more on your action, your future goals, where you want to see your dream and aspiration being fulfilled.
Right.
It works on creating your now. Like what is missing in your now, what steps do you need to take now to move ahead.
Right.
That would be the basic example of what's the difference between a counselor and a life coach. And one of the major difference, a life coach never advises you. He never influences you or judges you that this is wrong, this is right. Okay, you've done this. How can we move forward from here? That is the work of a life coach. He knows that the client has the best answers within him. Mm-hmm. And we as life coach, our work is only to ask the correct questions which make the clients think, oh, this is also possible. I can think it through and do it that way.
Right. So I feel like for a person to actually see and assess all of these aspects of their life, say they are just coming off of a time where they have been very unhealthy or in a botched relationship, or there are many things that trigger somebody's need or want of finding a counselor, or in that case a life coach. So what I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a life coach actually helps you create a lifestyle rather than solve a specific problem. And is it more based on something that's very recurring? Is it on the basis of tracking your journey, tracking your healing, tracking your betterment? As you said, it's from 0 to 100, or it's post the healing of something that has already happened. So in that sense, where does one kind of start their journey with a life coach?
So when you are not in the victim mindset, as I mentioned before,
Mm-hmm.
so you have taken the steering wheel in your hand of the journey.
Right.
You are not blaming other people's or situations. You've understood, okay, this is done. Now enough is enough. I want to move ahead. I want to be the hero in my story and take my own decision, be responsible for my life.
Right.
That is when you see a life coach. You don't need to be sick or some trauma or some issues need to be there. You want to improve the quality of your life. And even if you have certain triggers, a life coach can help you work with it. But depends. That's why we always do one session with life coach so that the client knows whether this service is helpful for him or no, or whether he needs therapy. Because not everybody needs therapy. These are only certain triggers which are triggering them. You can move past it. But nowadays people just think, I need therapy, I cannot operate, but a little bit of motivation, a little bit of back off, and a little bit safe place where they can vent out what they actually feel without being judged would do the work what is required.
That's fair. And like obviously you spoke a lot about like understanding one's core values. I think off camera when we were discussing, you spoke about how one really has to connect with the inner versions of themselves to kind of kick off their journey, know more about themselves. And you also said that there is like an exercise what they can do, and which is why I believe we have the pen and paper here so we can really delve into that. So yeah, just kind of take me down the journey to understand how does one actually first explaining what are the core values of a person, and then how does one actually get in touch or connect with their core values.
So yeah, I get this a lot. Like people who have achieved everything, they feel tired of being in the rat race. They feel burnt out after a certain point. They feel there is so much more to life than what I am doing. Nobody is understanding them what they really want, even if they are fulfilling their responsibilities and everything. So, as a matter of fact, I do believe that we all are born with certain values and belief, which makes us different and unique on the journey. So, what happens when we are born? We get influenced by our environment, our surrounding, family, teachers, friends, peers, and we lose ourselves. And whatever they tell about us, we take them as reality. Oh, this is who we are. But from inside, from your core, this is not who you are, and this is not what you want to do in life. So that is when you don't feel in alignment with yourself. So as a coach, what I do differently is instead of only focusing on your doing, I do focus on your being. Like what kind of person do you want to be while doing your goals?
Right.
Because you may achieve what you want to, but you will not be happy with the kind of person you've become. So we set goals according to your core values and your belief. Because once you know your core values, your belief, your purpose, what are you here to contribute, it makes you help take decisions better. Because you know this is what it really matters.
Right.
It helps you gain confidence because now the outer labels don't affect you. You know who you are from inside. And lastly, it helps you make your career goals also better because you know this is what I really want, this is what matters to me. So how can I achieve those?
Right. So like as you explained, if for example a person is successful or even starting off their journey, a lot of them can feel that rut or a place where they actually seem to have everything but they still feel off, and they still feel like they are in a low funk.
Yeah.
And do you feel like people, especially who have achieved it, are of a certain age, like people in their late 30s who maybe have already gotten the wealth, the career goals, everything that they have set? Do you think that that is also a viable starting point for them for their life coaching journey?
Definitely, because what happens for 30 years, you've been taking those labels on them. So when you do certain exercises with coaching, you realize, oh, this is what I really want. This is what makes me happy. So your purpose is not in a form of career that I want to become a doctor or an engineer. It is more on a fulfilling basis. So if I do that exercise with you so that our viewers can see through it, it will give you a better understanding what I'm talking about.
Right.
Knowing them makes you feel this is what makes me complete. This is what makes me feel more complete and aligned with my soul and in sync with myself. Because sometimes the kid is an adventurous kid, but parents get scared and put those belief into them. It's very risky. Please do not jump. Please do not do this. This is not good. So the adventure is gone in the kid.
Right.
But the kid from inside is still an adventurous baby. So when will that come up to?
Right.
So certain beliefs stuck to your life, and how you can remove them by knowing yourself better. If you know better, you do better.
Correct. I think I was talking to one of my friends, and he actually mentioned that it was just a random philosophical question that he asked. He's like, do you think we are our own people? Because at a tender age, when we're in a household, like from 0 to 7, you're practically you're like a sponge. Like you're taking in all the pieces of information, whether you're in a family or household, and their conditionings actually become your personality.
Definitely.
And that personality is then what you kind of step out in the world
Yeah.
with. And healing, or starting off reconnecting with yourself, or healing is actually you taking off those layers and actually figuring out your true self.
So true. So yeah, it does matter, no? Because certain belief, your parents must have experienced something in their life which they passed it on to you. But your journey is very different again. So maybe those experiences may work, may not work for you. So first you have to become aware of what are you genuinely missing in your life. So here is where coaching comes in a picture. Like it's not that something is wrong with your life, but there is something like a miss out. So there where a life coach comes and help you guide, not giving you answers, but asking you the questions
Right.
which you've not asked yourself. So
Correct.
that makes you think deeper inside, reflect, take a pause, and then move ahead.
Right. Before stepping into the next segment, I actually wanted to ask you, the exercise that one can do to understand and kind of explore their core values. Could you just take us through that and take the audience through that as well?
Definitely. So what I'll be doing here is just a minute 10 minutes discovery for yourself. If you want to go more in depth, get more aware of yourself, that could be done in a better coaching session.
Right.
But this is just an example of how you can know yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would love to get your attention.
Do you need me to use
Yeah.
the paper itself?
Yeah, paper and pen. I would like first you to close your eyes so we can get your full attention in this. As you inhale, we seek for clarity and awareness, what we need to get all the answers on the paper. Whenever you feel you're ready, exhale and open your eyes. So before we start, there is no right or wrong in these answers. You have to just write them as I ask, what quickly comes to your mind.
Right.
Don't think over it and don't think whether I should write it, not write it. Nothing. Just write them off. So can you write one of your favorite pet animal?
Okay.
It could be your pet animal or any other animal also,
Okay.
which you're very fond of. So can you write 5 life-affirming qualities about the animal which you're fond of? Like why are you fond of this animal? What do you like about this animal? Life-affirming qualities, what we say. So I would like you to get to your mind any person whom you admire a lot, who influences your daily routine, your actions. It could be any fictional or a non-fictional character, a hero or a heroine, maybe some successful people or somebody from your family. If this person comes to you and says to you, Rohan, I want you to be dash, just in one word, what would it be? Nature can be anything. So whatever you've written about, what is its biggest contribution to nature? And my last question now, can you tell me if your friends or family, they tell you, Rohan, you do these things so easily. It's amazing. We cannot even think of and you do them so easily. Can you write 5 such things?
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So now I would like you to frame a sentence. I am. Can you write that? The one word what you wrote. The person who influences you gave you that one word.
Right.
So can you write that? In order to. And the contribution of the nature's thing what you wrote. Can you frame that into this sentence? So now are you ready for this big revelation? So the first 5 things what you wrote are your core values. Your natural way of being. And the statement what you just now made it is your purpose. Your biggest contribution what you can do here. And the last 5 things what you wrote are your tools to achieve this, your natural strengths. So does it kind of resonate with you?
It actually does. I feel like I just want to give a little insight on what I wrote. I had like my last sentence was, I am kind in order to appreciate waterfalls and oceans.
What is the contribution of waterfall and what you've written?
I think giving life.
So I am kind in order to give life.
Wow. Interesting.
So does it kind of make you feel happier?
Yeah, I think it puts a lot into perspective about if I unapologetically and unabashedly had to like understand values about myself or personality traits about myself. I think this would be like my blueprint.
Yeah. So you know this from your inside bottom, but because of the labels, we don't believe ourselves that this is who we are from inside. But now, knowingly or unknowingly, it's on the paper.
Right.
So how does that feel?
I feel lighter. I feel like I actually have, in the 23 years of my life, I've never actually written these down, because kind of exploring these aspects is either I don't have time for it or I'm too busy doing something else that is like required of me. So I've actually never sat down, like even when I journal, like I've not sat down to understand these deeper, like below the surface kind of traits that there are. Like, this is very interesting. I think the audience should actually try this out.
Yeah. And one more thing. So now, if imagine you had this sheet before in your hand, wouldn't taking decisions, setting goals would be easier in your life?
Much. Because now I feel like reading this, I feel like there's a sense of purpose, because that statement in itself, like I am kind in order to give life.
How does it resonate with you?
I feel like now it puts so many things into perspective, because in like a few years back, I found ROHFIT, and I found a way to kind of connect with people through this medium. And the whole essence of that was that we provide a place for health and wellness so that people can actually grow and become a better version of themselves. Now the context makes sense, because I don't think, why did I choose this, or why even like, because I think this is the first time we've done this exercise. And before this, I was never been able to put into perspective as to what my purpose is. Like I've always been like, okay, this is that chapter of my life where I started this and I kicked like this journey off, but it's the first one that's actually taken off, and I've been getting good reception for it. So yeah, maybe this is a good clearing of the fog that happened.
So this sheet, when it's there in front of you, it keeps on reminding you of this is who you are.
Right.
So half of the issues, half of the triggers are just gone.
Correct.
Because now the outer noise has become very quiet. Nothing affects you because you know who you are from inside. So if someone comes tomorrow and says, you did this wrong, you are not doing this correctly, you had to do something else in life, you know, but you are meant to do this. Right. This is your work.
Right. I'm like, if I had this earlier in my life, it would be much more convenient for me, because after 3 startups, I feel like I've reached this point where it kind of makes more sense, because all the kind of inclinations, you know, you bump into the right people, you kind of connect with the right opportunities also, to give, you know, kind of reinforcement to the fact that, okay, you're on the right path. And a lot of the times people second guess, because we're in a day and age of labels, right?
Yeah.
So we often second guess, and we often like lose, you know, the ideology of
your own truth, basically.
Yeah, you lose your own truth.
So it does make a difference. That is why this is just a normal 10 minutes exercise what we do. Right. So this, in depth of this, is much more better. Like it's a foundations course session which we do with the client, which is like a 2-hour journey. What we take the client through to know themselves more better. And then we help them set goals. So that is how we proceed further.
Correct. Nice. I feel like later on down the line, I mean, definitely when we make more content about this, I would really like to delve deeper into actually pushing people to do this exercise, especially people who are like at like those crossroads in life where they don't really have context or inclination of where they are going. Because this, I think, puts a lot into perspective of where you belong.
Yes, definitely.
I think lovely, brilliant.
I think you are in that awe of the moment right now.
I'm in awe of the moment, because, you know, like the jigsaw puzzle kind of just fitting into pieces. And it's lovely, because now seeing the picture makes me just calmer.
Yeah.
Because first, earlier on, there's always that point where if some issue or some challenge or some hurdle has shown up, you always second guess yourself, and you always second guess the path that you're on, and is this really for me? And if it is, I mean, it'll show up on paper, I feel.
Yeah. If it is, like, out of nowhere it has showed up on paper.
Right.
There was no thinking, no prior guessing or anything.
Correct.
And I've not even known your core values or anything, but
Right.
yet it is making you feel complete.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I urge the audience to try this. So moving on to the next point, you mentioned doing and being, and the differentiation between the two. And often I actually myself, I do write blogs, and one of them was literally called Do But Don't Think. And I actually delved into wanting to know more about this concept, that we are in a state of like trying really hard to do and like make these extra over the top kind of efforts, even beyond our capacity, which often makes us like step away from the moment. And I left that blog halfway through, like I didn't complete that blog, but I feel like now is the perfect opportunity to ask, like, if this concept is to be explored, like not doing, just being, how would you delve into that?
So what happens in nowadays, everybody wants the quantity, doing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do this, I want to reach here, how fast I'll reach my goals, how can I do about it? But the person forgets who they want to be in that journey.
Right.
What kind of person do I want to be while achieving those goals? So that is what is important. So nowadays people are having lot of awareness about themselves. Like before, when we see during our parents' age, they hardly had awareness. They just followed what was being followed from the hierarchy. Okay, this is supposed to be done. But nowadays, the generation is very aware of their inner self. They want to know what they really want. They don't want to take those labels or what their parents are telling them. They want to leave their own mark. So that is too much of a pressure. And in that, you forget who you really want to be.
Right.
So even if you have awareness, you're not using it. You can listen to many motivational videos and everything. But what comes to the point is, are you ready to take the action?
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready to change yourself and not blame other people for the situations?
Right.
So when you become self-responsible, self-accountable, that is when you move forward. Otherwise, you'll just keep on doing things because you want to be seen that, oh, I've achieved so much. But later on, you're going to feel empty from inside because it was just a rat race where you were just running behind it. So you should know, is that who you really want? Will you appreciate yourself? Like if you have to imagine 5 years from now, what kind of person do you want to be? You've achieved your goals, but are you that person? Are you proud of that person? Or are you just proud of the destination where you've reached?
Right.
So that is when it is important to know who you are, what makes you happy, and then move ahead. Rather than, just running behind it continuously will not take you anywhere.
Right.
Because the other person will reach to the goal. You will be somewhere else, lost in the alley.
Right. It's lovely when you mention that a lot of us, we often lose perception when we're so busy trying to achieve one thing after the other, because you kind of have this set pattern that has been stereotyped by society, where we don't particularly wait and kind of enjoy or be in that moment, which is often why we miss out. Like I feel like a lot of the times that this rat race kind of feeling prevents us from being mindful.
Yeah.
And that essentially is, we had like a few yoga instructors, a few energy healers on the podcast lately, and they actually said that and they were discussing about yoga, and like the way to be is to be mindful every second of your life, because that is when you'll grasp the most amount of experiences happening for you, around you. When you're in that state of flow is when you'll be more perceptive to certain things, whether they're relationships, people, goals, and understanding that is the only moment that can exist at that point will also get rid of a lot of your like inhibitions, your anxieties, your worries, and it's a very like double-edged sword, because a lot of people love thinking about the next best thing, which is why they kind of overcompensate, as you mentioned, like the doing thing, they overcompensate a lot of the times. So like lovely, like because you mentioned like goal setting a while back, like you had explained when we had met earlier that goal setting, there are many different ways of goal setting, and especially in this day and age, a lot of the people, say in the higher hierarchies who have really focused on productivity, have this new way of setting goals. There are different ways of setting goals, SMART goals and many other types. So I'll just kind of give you the flow to explain that.
So when we say goals, everybody thinks the goals are like, I want to do this, I want to be XYZ. There is a very vague goal. It's not like something specific you're trying to achieve. It's like 10 years goals, 11 years goals, 5 years goals. Okay, those are good for your guidance to move across. But what we really need to focus on near-term goals, like what you can achieve within a month. Like every year, when the year comes to end, start of the year, you make a list. The list you follow for 2-3 months and then you dump them. Because there is no motivation anymore to do those goals because they just seem unachievable. So there are SMART goals and there are nice goals also. So SMART goals are been there for a long time, where you set like specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and time related. So if I say specific SMART goals, they are like specifically time related, where you say, I want to achieve senior position in 2 years.
Right.
So this is what is a SMART goal. Now nice goal comes, what you can do now. So near term, input based, more controllable and energizing. So when it's near term, like what you can do in this week or in a month to achieve your 2 years position. Input based, how much input can you put? What can you do? Not output based, not like outcome oriented, but your input, how much effort you can put? Controllable, how much can you control? If I say I will give 8 hours of dedication and reading, it's not possible because something or the other is going to come. Controllable would be every 30 minutes of reading in a day. That is controllable. And energizing, does it make you drained looking at the goal or does it energize you?
Right.
If I have to give you an example for SMART goals and nice goals, in your fitness journey, if you say, I want to lose 10 kgs by the end of the year, that is your SMART goals. Specifically time related, properly based, achievable, relevant to yourself. A near-term goal would be exercise every day for 30 minutes and sign up for the workout which makes you happy.
Right.
So that is achievable. It sounds achievable, so you do not throw the list away. Then there are life goals. So if I tell you, like we start the client with a sheet of paper, we give them flat 30 seconds, write any 3 life goals, what you want to attain. You do not have time, but you write. 80% of the time, first goal would be your financial goals.
Correct.
Second would be your personal or relationship goals. And third would be your health goals. So then how do you go about it? You've just left them there. For the next session, what do we do? So the coaching comes here in the program. Like you ask yourself, what are my 3 most important career goals? What are the blockages I'm going to face in my career goals? What is that one step I can take in this week to be one step closer to my goal?
Right.
And what kind of person do I want to be while achieving this in a week? Do I need to be more disciplined? Do I need to be more productive? Do I need to keep my phone off and give my study a time, learn new skill? That is how you track the habit and make it more achievable. So goals are like very big. When you say, oh, I have these goals, they just seem unachievable. So one step at a time, and in no point you will have your goals much faster.
Wow. I there was a part where you also mentioned that, goals, and obviously this is my perspective towards it. Do you think intention also plays a big role in goal setting? Because say I have either near-term goals or long-term goals. A lot of them often, when connected with say a purpose or an intent, acts as a motivating factor.
Yes, definitely.
And like for example, like my goal at the start of this was like, okay, for the production I have to build a team. And I actually ended up getting, because believe it or not, I'm like, I want to help the other people in my team grow, kind of explore this new facet and have that. And I feel like that also puts intent also puts a positive or negative connotation on however you like kind of approach it. So if you like, I've seen a lot of people put a goal like, okay, I want to achieve this because I want to earn a lot of money. And because I mean, not in a negative way, but it's like sometimes it's very like not giving back, that there is like a sour intent to the goal setting. Do you feel like the intention and the way you create intent for a goal plays a big role?
So your intention depends on, like now how you told, I have to do this. So you change your mindset. I choose to do this.
Right.
So when you choose, you give yourself the power back. You are in your control. So when your intention comes in play, when somebody says, I want to achieve this for money, it's not wrong. It's okay. That is his goal. And if he's ready to do the hard work, pay off and do his work, why not? But he should be ready to do that work. You should be ready to take the action. You cannot keep blaming other people for things not working in your life. There are going to be blockage. There is no growth without pain. You have to understand that. So when you put it on other people, that is where you're wrong. You have to take the responsibility, self-accountability. Okay, this couldn't work. How can I move forward? Instead of repenting on it. That's where your intention comes in the play, that I have to crack it anyhow.
Right.
If you have that intention, it's not wrong. Giving, not giving is the other person's attribute, what he wants to do with his life. We are nobody to judge the person that he wants to give it to the society or not. But the intention of, I really want to do this makes me feel more happy and more good about myself, why not? So that will give him power to move ahead.
Right. Like kind of, I'll definitely put it in textual format also. I feel like both the ways, I think SMART goals and NICE goals are very viable ways for like whether people are sitting working in corporates or whether they are trying to start like a journey for themselves. Because a lot of the times I've seen a lot of people put up like mood boards and boards right above their beds and everything to keep track of, when they really need to get their life together. And I feel an aspect of life coaching is literally that. It's literally goal setting for certain things that you plan to achieve in your life. And usually it's at the earlier stages, earlier ages particularly, because, I was reading this book. And it's a lovely book. I feel like if those who haven't read it, I would really recommend it. It's called Kaizen.
Okay.
And it's based on a Japanese philosophy. I think I spoke about this in the previous podcast also, where it talks about continuous improvement. So the whole concept of Kaizen, the literal translation is continuous improvement. And it's about the fact that there are certain aspects and values, that personality traits that you're born with, that you can actually put down on paper and you can track the level of improvement till the last day of your life.
Okay.
Because essentially the whole concept is that there will always be something or the other to work on to better.
Yes.
And there needs to be this innate motivation to actually better that aspect. So I feel like these goal setting aspects really tied in well to help me and guide me to actually improve on a lot of certain aspects. So like I personally have a lot of issues with like sleep and routine. My sleep cycle is very sporadic because of the work, because of certain like deadlines that we have to complete, and certain early mornings, which really disrupts an entire routine. And that's not particularly something to do with work, but it's for my well-being, right? So I also want to break the aspect of any of the people thinking that, oh, these goal settings are only for career based, or these goal settings are only for certain things to better your efficiency or your productivity, because a lot of aspects get covered when it comes to wellness.
Yeah.
And
as a coach, we work on different areas. We work on your rest and relaxation, passion, your environment, your personal relationships, or your other relationships like your co-workers or your office hours. All of these areas also need goal settings. So goal is just a term which we use to move forward, because if your dreams do not have a goal, they will just remain dreams. You're not going to achieve them. You have to set some dedicated, like it may be the 100th step, but you have to start with the one step below. That is how you're going to reach. So you have to bifurcate it, get it to the smallest, most achievable thing, and then you start taking the step in the journey. As you take, the map unfolds. Okay, this is how I need to move forward. This is how I need to move forward. It is not required everything to be figured out at once.
Right.
So like when you spoke about your sleep, you can start with as small as just increasing 15 minutes early. You sleep 15 minutes early. Then you sleep more 15 minutes early. Then you sleep more 15 minutes early. This seems achievable.
Right.
And surely it becomes a habit, and then you automatically sleep 2 hours early.
Correct.
So you give yourself that time and space. For 15 days, I will sleep 15 minutes early. Then next 15 days, I sleep for half an hour early. That's how you proceed. You cannot say, I'm going to sleep 2 hours. Today, I'm going to go on the bed at 10 o'clock only. It's not going to be possible. You will be awake till 12 o'clock.
Right.
So that's how you break your goal into smaller goals, which seems achievable.
Correct. And like you also like spoke about time and energy management, right? There have been a lot of times that I've heard people, okay, I'm really bad at time management, or I'm really bad at removing time for things that really I like, or keeping to deadlines, or having time for certain aspects that get missed throughout my day. I think with time, and I personally realized this with my experiences, that it's less to do with time, it's more to do with energy, because it's like you can actually fixate a lot of tasks or a lot of things to do in a day, but sometimes your energy is not up to that level, where you're either giving your energy to the wrong things, or giving your energy or expending it in places that aren't really giving you a return on that investment of energy, or you're overdoing it in certain tasks. So like if you were to break down in just how one can compartmentalize their energy to really make the day efficient and productive as a whole, how would you do that?
So there are various techniques which we use. Few of them are my favorite, like 90-10 method. So where if you remove 10 minutes one day prior in the night, make a list of the task for the next day, you almost save 90% of your time while getting the job done.
Right.
You just have to do it once to understand how you can improve it. So if you made the list, when you get up, you know exactly what your day is going to look like, how you're going to follow it. So there is no wasting of the time. You will achieve much more.
Right.
Then there is 80-20 technique, which is very famous, is the Pareto's principle, where they say that 20% of your activities add to 80% of value to your entire day. So in a store, if you say 20% of customers will give you 80% of your sales, other would be window shopping.
Correct.
So in a day, if you have 10 tasks, 2 or 3 tasks would be the most important, which will add value to your day, which will make you feel more productive,
Right.
We stop doing that and we do other all smaller activities. So if beforehand only you do these 2 or 3 activities, then the entire day is there. So your 80% of day looks productive. And as you mentioned, the energy. Sometimes somebody says something or something doesn't go according to our plan. The method what I use personally is 10-10. Where will it matter in 10 minutes? Will it matter in 10 weeks? And will it matter in 10 years? So if you say, I've gone for a driving license test and I fail badly at it. Okay, 10 minutes I'm going to feel really bad about it. But 10 weeks later, I'll be reappearing the test.
Right.
And then 10 years, as with sitting with friends, I would be making joke around it. Arey, this happened in my first test.
Right.
So you should always remind yourself, is it that difficult that you'll not be able to achieve? And not waste your entire day over it, Cribbing over it, ke ho hi nahi paega, main nahi kar paungi. So you give yourself that reminder again and again.
Right.
That it's only for 10 minutes. Okay, 10 weeks ke baad to at least it is achievable. It's not going to go till 10 years. So these are the basic techniques you can use to achieve more. And one of the favorite is Pomodoro technique, which many students can also use for their studies. So you set an alarm for 25 minutes. You do your work very dedicatedly for that 25 minutes. As the alarm rings, you get up. For 5 minutes, you give yourself a break. You eat something, you drink something, you watch TV, or you call up your friend. Then again, you set an alarm for 25 minutes. Again, you do your work. And again, you give yourself a 5 minutes break. When you finish 4 such cycles, you give yourself a good 30 to 40 minutes break. So it's like validating yourself, giving gratification. Oh, so you're in your mind, I just have to work for 25 minutes properly, then I'm getting a break. So you're telling your mind that. So you will have achieved so much in no time without even realizing it.
Right.
So the students can study more. Because when they say, I have to study for 3 hours, it sounds so much. But if you know that I have to study for 25 minutes, give myself a good 5 minutes break, I can chit chat with my friend for a good 5 minutes, then again come back to my studies. It seems more achievable.
Right. Like you mentioned, like a lot of the times we like spend a lot of time, say we have like an insecurity or an anxiety or some worry that's on our mind. I think you had mentioned earlier that actually take out time in the day to worry and stress and be anxious, so that after that hour or that 30 minutes or that 20 minutes is complete, you don't go back to that. That time and that energy is expended. Now you move on to the next thing, and that efficiency protocol is what a lot of people actually neglect, because oftentimes it's a spiral, and a lot of people don't have that willpower to break or disconnect off of that that those worrisome thoughts, or the conversation. They will actually give it more heed because they feel like discussing it will eventually lead to a solution, which will eventually like kind of help the situation or the anxiety or the worry. But what they don't realize is that they are missing out on a lot of time and a lot of things that they can give their energy to, and often then that translates into missed time management, and like there is a lot of heaviness because it's like a dominoes, right? It's like one thing pushing the entire day out of whack. This is a good like point to really delve into the other aspect of the other segment of the podcast itself, and that is mainly just understanding life coaching as a whole, putting it in the real world. There are things like social media. We live in a day and age of data, and particularly because we are scrolling away for hours and hours on our phone. And there was literally a fact at one point that they mentioned that our future generations will actually be born with necks which are a little tilted down because we are so busy looking at our phone and scrolling that could actually transfer into our genetic DNA into future generations. And the worrisome fact is that we are so driven by comparison. We were talking about imposter syndrome as well. A lot of times we self-sabotage, and whether it's through any person that we bumped into, say in real life or on social media, our instant curiousness of wanting to kind of say that, okay, what can I nitpick that actually I can make better about myself, or how can I be that person, which I feel ties really well into the core values thing that you spoke about, because I feel getting in touch with your core values is essentially being accepting of who you are, how you are. And a lot of people don't have that. So like for a person who's really needing to combat this imposter syndrome and this comparison rut, how does one deal with that?
So see, social media has opened up a lot of opportunities. It helps you connect with people globally. It is giving you access to so many people's life. But what happens, you are achieving your goals, but just because you do not know how to pose them properly, you pay attention to carefully snippets, like somebody's put the pitch perfect thing around, and you're like completely focusing on it. On the back of the hand, you've achieved what you are aiming for, but you still feel incomplete.
Right.
Because it's not that perfect how it is looking over there. But you do not know that person's insecurities, fear, what they are going through, or how much hard work they have put in through.
Right.
But you are comparing your life completely to that person. But that is not even your end goal. It's not even your end goal. Your goal is something different. It's not like the same person. You want to be the same person. You want to be your unique person. You want to embrace it. So how do you do that? How do you come about that? By accepting that personal growth, genuine connections, and whatever are your experiences, they are happening offline, not online. Because online, everybody is showing picture perfect. In fact, nowadays, influencers or anybody, they come openly and talk about it. That I am on my downfall, I can't do about it, I cannot match up to it. And that is when you realize, oh, now she can't do it,
Everyone's
now she's
human.
failing. Yeah, everybody is human.
Right.
So why don't you give that credit to your own self? That even I am human. Be kinder to your own self. You have to do this. How can you stop yourself from comparing? First of all, you don't start your day with looking over your phone. Imagine if you've just woken up, there are 100 people walking in your house.
Right.
What will happen? You will not be able. You will be anxious. You do not know how to do about that. But that is how you're feeding your mind, no? By 100 people's life access.
Right.
What is happening in his life, this life, this life, this life. But the mind is not in the position to control all this information. So naturally, it's going to go in this downward spiral. So if you don't open your day with it, you give some time. That 1 hour I'll scroll through in my meal times or post my meal times when I don't have anything to do. 30 minutes to it. You can do that. You have to unfollow the accounts which don't motivate you, which brings you down, you know.
Right.
Please unfollow them because it will make you better person.
Right.
You will see what you're able to achieve.
Right.
The original comparison has to be with your present self to your past self. How much have you grown from last year? That is the comparison you need to focus on. And that is where you need to grow. You can do journaling also. Many people start with journaling, but they end up not fulfilling it because it requires time, it requires dedication, which not everybody is doing it. For that, you can take a small social media breaks. That 2 days I will not go through social media. So your mind can relax. That is how you can do these small things. But journalings really help you know your triggers. So when you're not in a correct mind of state, please start writing down without even thinking about it on a sheet of paper. And then you read through it. You will understand what were your triggers. And once you know your triggers, you can control your reaction. You can learn to respond. And as you mentioned, the imposter syndrome. So the imposter syndrome is in fact a belief that not only are you not good enough, but whatever you've achieved is out of sheer luck. So in fact, many high successful individuals, they go through imposter syndrome even after achieving everything. If, for example, there are 2 people going to do a presentation in the office, the first person does it and everybody tells him amazing presentation, great work, this, that. It's good. But when the other person starts doubting, oh, I will not be able to do it. Nobody's going to like my work. I don't have that kind of skill or knowledge. I'm not talking sense. My boss will know I am not the right cut for the job. That is where the imposter syndrome comes into the play. Like Michelle Obama, she went through imposter syndrome. She spoke open about it. That I always asked myself, are people really listening to me? Are they taking me seriously? Am I talking that knowledgeable things which I can share? She started questioning herself because you think you will be caught as a fraud and people will know that whatever you are doing and talking is all rubbish. It doesn't make sense. So that fear of being caught as a fraud is so high in people that they start withdrawing from work. They hide behind perfectionism. I cannot submit today. It's still left, it's still 20% only done. They don't know how to take compliments. If you tell them, go and tell them, oh, amazing work, they will say, no, anybody can do this. There is nothing special about it. They will not even order food in a restaurant because they will think if I order, nobody will like it. Then everybody will say, Arey, you ordered it. It's not a right dish. So they avoid over there also.
Right. Which makes them weaker in their resolve, I feel.
So with time, you give yourself the time, you understand, you seek help, and you can overcome imposter syndrome. It is more common than you think. It's not like something which cannot be overcome. Like you have to do it afraidly, do it messy, be okay with failure. Understand that new things are going to take time. It's going to feel uncomfortable, and you learn to celebrate your small wins, not only the bigger wins, but the small wins.
Right.
That is how you will move forward.
Right. I feel like I personally, a lot of my friends actually also deem me as the clumsy one. I feel like even just before we started on set, I think I dropped just 2-3 things, and it's good after a point when you start to really accept it, because I feel like I've reached a point where things like these used to really shock me up, and I used to lose my train of thought. I'm pretty sure if we did the same podcast about 2-3 years ago and I literally did that right before we started shooting, I would have been so closed up But I feel this itself has helped me like open up and accept my true self so much that it's okay to kind of fall or drop a table or
Yeah.
just do that, because at the end of the day, as you explained, we are all human.
We are all human. If imagine the friend comes to you and shares the same problem what you're going through, will you tell him you're mad, you can't do it, just leave it across? No. You will tell him, no, it's okay, we can retry it again, we can think of some other ways. Then why not give yourself the same advice?
Right.
Why treat yourself harshly?
Correct.
If sometimes it seems so difficult to talk to yourself, you have to silent your inner voice, take a chair, sit in the front of the mirror like you are having a conversation with a friend, and talk with that way into yourself. Okay, you've done wrong, now how can we do better about it? Okay, this is amazing, you've achieved your first step, how can we go about it? That is how you can also talk to your own self, change your inner voice. Because it's going to be that mind is very comfortable with negative thoughts. You put one, it will start attracting millions. So you also have to be selective while picking up the thoughts. It's the work which you have to genuinely put in effort. Like when you go to a store, you see so many choices and options. Similar are thoughts in your mind. So you go and pick up what you like. So your mind goes and picks up what's comfortable. Even if it's negative, it's going to pick up what is comfortable to him, what's known to him. So genuinely you put an effort of leaving the negative and picking up the positive, what's working for you. So that's the effort on your part.
That's lovely. I think that's a good takeaway, for not only us, but a lot of people, that we actually can get in good grips with just being who they are. Just being happy in their own being, and just whether it's physical, mental, emotional, however they are, because that'll help them really express their truth.